Could it be? But me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Sunday Night Football Overtime. NFC East family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's NFC East family business. Now, this wasn't the family business I was expecting tonight. And, you know, I'm an NFC East aficionado. And this is my family business. I can stick my nose and I got a big nose. I can stick it all up in this business, all right? This is all of my own. This is all family here. We all family. We may not always get along, but it's family here, man. So I know this all too well. And this is not what I was expecting tonight. Now, I expected a Cowboys victory. That I did expect, but not like this. I didn't expect an ass whooping tonight. That's not what I signed up for. That is not what I showed up for. And Doug Peterson even said, hey, we about to go win this game. And I said, hey, Doug, don't do that. All right, Doug, be careful here. All right, they got a better squad than you do. Doug didn't want to hear that. And I said, Doug, you're really, really walking a fine line here between getting your ass tore up. And he didn't buy it. And he was one of those dudes that say, hey, you got to show me. Okay, well, he showed up and he got his ass whooped tonight. And it's okay. You know what? I told you this was the one bid league at the beginning of the season. Before the season started, now I thought the one bid was going to the Eagles. But after week 2, and look, the Redskins are no barometer for any team in the league this season. If you beat the Redskins, you're supposed to beat the Redskins. But the Redskins played the Eagles and the Cowboys in the first 2 weeks, respectively. And I was here to tell you that the Cowboys were the better of the two teams. And I said, look, if you're asking me who's the best team in the NFC East, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And we all thought before the season started, it was a two-team league. It was a two-team race in the NFC East between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm here to tell you the Cowboys are the better of the two teams, and they're going to win this division barring injuries or some kind of meltdown. The Cowboys are the better of the two teams, and I fully expect them to separate themselves from what is a very bad NFC East division this year. Now, it doesn't get any easier for the Dallas Cowboys. They haven't seen Buffalo, which they will see on Thanksgiving. They haven't seen New England yet. It's going to get tough for the Cowboys here in a second. And, you know, they're going to face some teams. They've already knocked down their Dolphins. They've already lost to the Jets. That was supposed to be a win, but they got Sam Darnold. But things are going to get a lot more interesting for the Cowboys as the season progresses. They got the Bears on a Sunday night on the road. Bears don't look like world beaters at this point. Maybe they'll have their act together by then. Obviously, that entire division is really good. The Redskins play two of the better divisions in football. I get it. The Dolphins stink. But the Jets, despite their record, with Sam Darnold, I think the Jets are a very competitive football team. You're going to see that tomorrow on Monday night. I fully expect the Jets to win that game tomorrow. I know I sound crazy, but I picked them. If you listen to my podcast, give me the Jets. Fully expect the Jets to go in and win that game on Monday night. And you see the Patriots. You see what the Bills are doing at 5-1. That's a really good AFC East this year. You look at the NFC North. The Redskins play that division as well. Vikings, Lions. Wait, hold on. I don't want to lie to you. The Redskins play. No, we don't play that division. I take that back. The Cowboys play the Bears because the Bears won the division last year. The Redskins play the Vikings because the Vikings finished in third place in the NFC North last season. I think the Redskins and the Cowboys, the NFC East plays the AFC. East. It's the East. We play the Patriots, Jets. Duh, I just talked about that. Anyway. And I'm talking about the NFC. What division do we play in the NFC? It's not the AFC. It's not the NFC South. We played that last year. It's not the NFC. Is it the NFC North? Yeah, we got Detroit on the schedule. Detroit, Minnesota, Chicago. We already played Chicago. Yeah, it's the NFC North. And that's arguably the best division in the NFC. So, obviously, right now, I think the NFC West is the best division. And with Arizona winning today, every team in that division is over 500. Okay, Arizona's 3-3-1. San Francisco 6-0. The Rams are now 4-3, and the Seahawks are 5-2. I think that's the best division in football. But not too far behind is the NFC North, which I think may be the second best division in all of football. Forget about just the NFC in general. I think that might be the second best division in all of football, and I think the NFC West is the best division in football. So the NFC East play a really tough slate of games. And so I think the Cowboys' schedule is going to get tougher, but it doesn't really matter because I don't see the Eagles faring much better on their schedule. Now, granted, the Eagles still have the Patriots. They still have the Bills, but they haven't used up their Dolphins yet. But they got the Bills next week. That could easily be a loss with the way the Bills are playing defense right now. They still got the Patriots. And they got the Giants twice, but the Giants always play them tough. And they got this Cowboys team again. I just don't know what to expect from the Philadelphia Eagles, to be honest with you. Their schedule, the next, I think, 5 weeks or so, is a murderer's row. I think it's something like Bills, and in no particular order. It's like Bills. It's next week they got the Bills. Then it's the, I think it's like Patriots, Seahawks, like all winning teams. And it's a bye week somewhere scattered in there. But it's like 4 out of the next 5 games are against winning teams, and they got a bye week in there. It's going to be rough. I just don't see the Eagles coming out of the NFC East. I think the Cowboys are the better of the two teams. I think they kind of proved that tonight. But let me reiterate this. I didn't expect an ass whooping tonight. I thought the Eagles would be competitive, keep it close, but the Cowboys would win this football game. The turnovers, and I want to make this an arching theme and really a microcosm of the Eagles season. The Eagles have been down early in just about every single game this season. Every time you look up, whether it's the Packers game, they ultimately came back and won that game, but they were getting their ass whooped. Remember, we thought that was going to be a blowout. They started out that game 14-0, and it didn't look like they could stop the Packers offense. What was it? 17-7 at halftime of the Redskins game. They were getting their asses handed to them. It was 17-0 at one point in that game before they rallied back in the second half behind a couple of Deshaun Jackson bombs. They really miss him. I think they were really counting on him to be a deep threat for them. It changes how you play them. He's been injured. You can't, at this point of his career, you cannot rely on Deshaun Jackson to stay healthy. He's always been a liability to stay healthy, but even more so now, I think the last 3 seasons, I'd love to know how many games he's missed versus how many games he's played. He's really been a guy that has been injured the last few years of his career, but I think they were really counting on Deshaun Jackson, and his injury has really offset, taking this offense a step back. And, the fact that they're throwing deep balls to Alshon Jeffrey, it's just not a good look for them right now. And so they're struggling offensively at times. Defensively, they can stop the run, even though they struggle with Ezekiel Elliott tonight. But it's the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. It's Ezekiel Elliott. It's easy to struggle with the Cowboys. But they have stopped the run for the most part, but their secondary has been a mess, an abject disaster. And I'll take it a step further. Everybody wants to kill the Eagles secondary, and rightfully so. Go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But when you look at the lack of pass rush at times, I've been so disappointed in Fletcher Cox this year. I mean, man got his first sack tonight. We're in week 7. Man got his first sack tonight. We talk about, I know I do. I can't speak for anybody else. I talk about Fletcher Cox like he's one of the top 3 defensive tackles in all of football, And for him to come out this season and really not have any impact, maybe in a run game, yeah, but as a pass rusher, that's what separates you in this league when you're an interior defensive lineman. Yeah, it's great if you can stop the run, and if you're stout against the run and stout at the point of attack, that's great. Yep, good, great, awesome. We can get one of those in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. We can find a guy that can stand up to the run. What separates you, what makes you a 1st-round pick, what makes you an elite interior defensive lineman is your ability to not only stop the run, but also get pressure on the quarterback. Fletcher Cox was one of the few in this league that should be able to do that has done that throughout the course of his career, that hasn't done that this season, though. That's been really disappointing along the Eagles' defensive front. But anyway, enough about the Eagles. I don't think they're going to make the postseason this year. I don't think they're a a great team this year. I think they're a good team. They're solid, but good isn't going to get you in the playoffs in the NFC this year. That's the problem. And we knew this going in. Remember, we talked about how good the NFC conference was going to be this season and how the AFC was going to be a lot less. We talked about how the NFC was the Western Conference of the NFL, all right? And how the AFC was going to be the Eastern Conference of the NFL in terms of basketball. So we already knew that the NFC was going to be strong, and it's proving to be true. You look at the NFC West, they could easily get 3 teams in. They're going to get 2, all right? The division winner and whomever doesn't win the division in second place is going to the playoffs, whether that's San Francisco and Seattle or Seattle and wins the division and San Francisco finishes second. They're getting 2 in. The question is, do they get 3 with the Rams all of a sudden coming off the pace and making it a really interesting race in the NFC West? But then you look at the NFC North. You're thinking right now, they got to get 2, right? So it's really interesting. I think right now, as it stands, give me 2 in the North, give me 2 in the West, and then the division winners from each of the South and the East. That's the way it's looking right now. But Carolina has something to say about that. You know, they're like, hey, we may not win the division, but we're right there. It's not like we're that far off of leading the NFC South. New Orleans is sitting there at 6-1, but we're right there at 4-2. So it's not like they're that far behind. So it's interesting. Again, the NFC conference as a whole is very interesting. But I think the Cowboys are going to win this division. They were outstanding tonight. The defense stepped up early and gave the Cowboys offense some great field position early in this ball game, creating some turnovers and really putting the Eagles behind the 8 ball. And they jumped out to a 14-0 lead. And if not for the penalty on Jalen Smith to give the Eagles a first down, that would have been another 3-and-out. And I think the Cowboys would have dominated this game from start to finish in terms of not even making this competitive. Because remember, after the Eagles scored that touchdown, aided by a couple of Cowboys penalties on that drive, that should have ended on a 3-and-out deep in their own territory. It was 14-7. We thought we had ourselves a ball game at that point. And then the Cowboys just continued to dominate the first half of the football game. And at halftime, you looked up, 63-yard field goal by Maher. And all of a sudden, it's 27-7 at halftime. At that point, I said, these boys are dead. Dead, I tell you. And the Cowboys can continue to bust them up in the second half. Took their foot off the gas pedal just slightly in the second half. Didn't need it, though. I mean, you were already up 20. You just had to make sure that the Eagles didn't rattle off a couple of scores unanswered to make it competitive. And every time they scored, you scored. And so this game pretty much stayed out of hand. So it ultimately got to 37-10. And that's when I decided it's time to come and do this live stream. So to me, this game was a microcosm of the season for the Eagles. They've been behind early and often. The Vikings, and these are the games I can just think of. All right, and they maybe have been behind in more of these games, but they were early. They were down big early in the Vikings game. They were down big early in the Redskins game. They were down big early in the Packers game. They were down big early in this game. Now, I could be missing some other games in there, but they've been down big early in the first quarter of games. It just seems like very often this season, and that's no way to live in this league if you're trying to win and be competitive on a consistent basis. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys, like I said, I talked about this on the podcast, Louie T Network podcast. If you haven't checked it out, episode 58 was a great episode. Check it out. But I talked about the Cowboys. I think they're going to turn their season around, start out the season 3-0, drop the next 3 to end up 3-3. Won tonight, now they're 4-3 and leading the NFC East in sole possession of first place. But their schedule was really soft to start out the season. You know, Giants, Redskins, Dolphins in the first 3 weeks, respectively. I mean, those 3 teams have a combined 3 wins between them. So not a lot of competition there for the Cowboys. They mopped them up like they were supposed to. And then the next 3 weeks, you get the Packers, the Saints, then the Packers, and then the Jets. Jets, again, the record is misleading with the Jets. They were a winless team when the Cowboys met them, but that was without Sam Darnold. You get Sam Darnold back in week 6, and he made a huge difference. Cowboys end up dropping the game, and the Cowboys were really battered and bruised. Both of their tackles were out. They had a number of injuries. Amari Cooper left the game after 3 plays, so they were really banged up in that game. No excuses. You still are supposed to beat the Jets, and they just failed to do so, made too many mistakes to win that football game. But that's nor here nor there. The Cowboys are the class of the NFC East this season. And again, barring any catastrophic injuries, I think this is the team that's going to end up winning this division this year and representing the NFC East in the postseason. The question then becomes, can they be good enough to win in the postseason? I have questions about this defense. I have questions about this offense. I can tell you this much, though. When they're clicking on all cylinders offensively, they're one of the better offenses in all of football. You know, they have weapons all over the field. Michael Gallup, when the way he was playing early in the season, he hasn't gotten back to that since his injury. Post-injury, he's kind of regressed back to rookie form, Michael Gallup. But pre-injury this season, first 3 weeks of the season, he didn't play in the Dolphins game. So first 2 weeks of the season, this guy was outstanding. And he looked like a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. You get that Michael Gallup back, add to Amari Cooper's number 1 status in this league and what he's done in Dallas. You sprinkle in some Randall Cobb and just a pinch of Tavon Austin, which you got a little pinch of it tonight for the first touchdown of the game. Then, again, a little pinch of Witten, not much, just every now and again on a crucial third down, just sprinkle in a little bit of Witten. You're not asking for much of him. The same thing with Blake Jarwin. Not a lot, man. Just sprinkle in a little bit of Blake Jarwin every now and again. And then, obviously, a lot of Zeke Elliott. Pour a lot of that in the pot. And then, every now and again, I want more than a little pinch. All right, maybe like a teaspoon of the backup running back out of Memphis. Right, throw a teaspoon of that in the pot. And then, dump a bunch of Dak Prescott in there, and you got a hell of an offense. Obviously, I'm putting every bit of the offensive line in the pot as well, and I'm stirring it up, and that's a hell of an offense, man. That shit tastes pretty good. All right, now, the problem is the defense, when they're hitting, when they're getting after the quarterback like they did tonight, man, defense is everything. But there were times when the Eagles got behind that defense tonight. All right, even late in the game, and the game was pretty much not in the balance. But if you give up a 75-yard touchdown to Nelson Aguilar right there with Jeff Heath one-on-one going across the field with 10 minutes and 45 seconds left in the game, it's only a 13-point game at that point. If he scores that touchdown, it's now a 30-17 game. Now you got a ball game with 10 minutes left. All right. Or 11 minutes, closer to 11 minutes left in this game. So we've seen this Cowboys defense isn't what it was last year. I don't think they're that good like they were. Last year, this was a lights out defense. Like, remember what they did to the Saints late in the season last year on a Thursday night? We were like, whoa, this defense is ridiculous. That's not what they are this year. You can move the ball. You can score on this Cowboys defense, but they were really good tonight. They forced turnovers. There should have been another interception late in the game by Sean Lee. He dropped that. They got to Wentz. They forced the issue. They were outstanding tonight. Forced 3 turnovers of the Eagles tonight. I think they picked off Wentz once. Forced a couple of fumbles. They were outstanding. Should have picked off another one. They were all over the field flying around. Leighton Vander Esch's injury is going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Remember, he had neck injury issues coming out of college. Remember, the Cowboys didn't know if they were going to take him or not. Literally, they were on the phone trying to make sure that everything was good with his neck. And they made the selection. He's been outstanding. Going to be interesting to see the severity of his neck injury. Hopefully he's okay. But the defense is good. They're not great. They were great last year. I don't feel that vibe this year. I think the secondary, I'm not afraid of Byron Jones, even though he didn't get tested tonight. I'm not afraid of Byron Jones. Last year, I thought he was outstanding. This year, I'm like, yeah. And remember, he's still coming off of an injury. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I think you could challenge him. But this is a Cowboys team that I think is the best team in this division. They proved it tonight. And I think they're going to ultimately win this division. And this was impressive. I did not expect an ass whooping tonight. But that's what we got. And the Cowboys, they asserted themselves as the dog, the lead dog in this division tonight. And this was a statement to the rest of the NFC East that this is their division to lose. And I heard the message loud and clear, and I think everybody else around the division did as well. Let's get to your comments, though, as we jump into this live stream and see what you guys have to say about the Cowboys dominating this game tonight. And they ultimately win this football game 37-10. So that ended up being the final score in this ball game, 37-10. And not surprised. Not surprised at all.
I know it sounds too good to be true.
I saw this as a game that I thought they would win, but I didn't think they were going to win this game like this. So, Reese says, so nice to be able to sit back and watch football without becoming hoarse from yelling at the TV. It's always, you know what's crazy? When your team isn't good, the bye week is a relief. When your team is great or your team is really good, the bye week is a burden. You're like, man, shit, I miss watching my team this week. And, you know, but when your team isn't great or isn't good, man, it's a relief. It's almost like a weight lifted off your shoulders when your team doesn't play. I can't wait till the Redskins bye week. It's almost going to feel like a bye week this week because the Redskins play on Thursday. It's just going to be embarrassing Thursday when we get our asses whooped. But after that, after the sting of getting beat like 33-6 or 33-10 wears off, by the time we get to Sunday, I'm like, this feels great. No Redskins game to worry about. It's going to feel absolutely excellent. So I know exactly where you're coming from, Ree. And as a longtime Redskins fan, every year seems like a celebration. Cheers to the bye week. So I know exactly where you're coming from. Anyway, Reese also says, turned 25 yesterday, Lou. Hey, happy birthday. Everybody in the comment section, wish my man Ree a happy belated birthday. Turned 25 yesterday, man. 25, what a beautiful age, man. You got a lot of life to live. Enjoy, man. Enjoy 25. I think that's the greatest age you can turn. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Cheers. Once again. DMV fan 123 says, Cowboys have a top running back, defensive end, wide receiver, left tackle, guard, center, linebacker, times two. He says, and the top quarterback, all of which are homegrown, one of the gold standards of for scouting, drafting in this league. I've said this all along. I said that the Cowboys, they draft really well. And I say, you say what you want about Jerry and how he runs the organization. Say what you want about Jason Garrett. And I think that's part of the reason I don't think the Cowboys are a legitimate Super Bowl contender because Jason Garrett is their head coach. But say what you want about those guys. Bottom line is the Cowboys, in terms of drafting, do it better, just as good, if not better than everyone else in the league. I think Cincinnati does a great job of drafting. I know it doesn't show up necessarily in the record standings right now, but I think they're going through a little bit of a transitional period. Their offensive line, that's probably the difference between them and the Cowboys, that and the fact that AJ Green's been hurt all year long, but the Cincinnati Bengals don't have an offensive line, whereas the Cowboys have an elite top two in the league offensive line. They may be the best offensive line in football, and they just draft really well, and I've always said that. That's the thing. I think it's been about a good 5 or 6 year stretch now where the Cowboys have just killed it in the draft. I've loved their drafts, and they've got a lot to show for it. You know, they keep these guys around, whereas, you know, a team like mine and the Redskins, we don't even have anything to show from drafts 4 years ago. I mean, that's where we're at as an organization, whereas the Cowboys, the bulk of their team is made up by guys that were drafted 5, 4, 3 years ago. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be done. And they don't miss in the first and second and third round. They don't miss. Whereas, you know, teams like mine in the Redskins, we can't buy a second round good draft pick. I can't tell you the last time the Redskins hit on a second round draft pick. As a matter of fact, I don't think a second round pick for the Redskins exists on the roster right now. And I'll take it a step further. It's probably been close to a decade since the Redskins have made a successful second round pick. That's terrible because your second round pick is an extension of your first round pick. All right. Anyway, you're right about that, DMV fan. He says cornerback too. I don't know about cornerback. I like I just talked about him earlier. I like Byron Jones. I don't love Byron Jones. So I don't know if I would add him to the list, but I get where you're coming from. Anyway. Reese says, you know the crazy thing about it, Lou? I was 17 when I started watching you. You haven't been watching me that long. I started this thing in 2012. So that's 7 years. So you couldn't have been watching me when you were 17. Maybe you were. I don't know. You might have been. I take that back. It's been a while. You've been around for a long time. Anyway, Reese says Aaron Rodgers with 6 total touchdowns. He's a bad. Look, man, he's a bad man. Keep trying to tell y'all that. Blackout B says offenses were 0 for 23 against Dallas on third downs going into the game. Isn't that crazy? The only team in the league to not give up a 3rd and 10 or longer this season. I mean, that just goes to show you when this defense is in that kind of position, when they get to pin their ears back, when they know it's an obvious passing situation, that they can get after the quarterback. And I think the stat tonight was very telling. They got after Carson Wentz. I get it. Their left tackle for the Eagles, Jason Peters, out in this game. They had a rookie in there. And their first round pick from this year's draft in Dillard. I get it. He's a rookie, and there's going to be growing pains there, but that's still a hell of an offensive line. They absolutely got after Wentz tonight, all right? And there weren't many blitzes. It was just 4 guys essentially applying pressure, whether it was Kerry Hyder. Yeah, remember him in Detroit that one year where he went off and then had the injury, and the Lions thought it was okay to just discard him, and now he's in Dallas playing well. Look, he didn't get any sacks tonight, but he gets a lot of pressure. You know, and Redskins fans know all about that with Preston Smith. We used to complain, well, Preston's not getting the quarterback, but he got a lot of pressure. Pressure does do some things. Now he's getting sacks for the Green Bay Packers, starting to actually come to fruition for him. But you look at the rest of that line, man, DeMarcus Lawrence with a sack, strip, forced fumble tonight. Same can be said for the guy on the, and I think this makes a huge difference. Getting a guy like Robert Quinn changes everything for the Cowboys because now you can't just double DeMarcus Lawrence. You got 2 guys on opposite ends who can get after the quarterback, and they both were peeling on the quarterback tonight. It's a scary defense when you tell them it's an obvious passing situation. And then I love the fact that the Cowboys blitz Jalen Smith and allow him to get after the quarterback, and they got a really good front 7, man. It's a nice mixture up there in Big D. Reese says, even in a blowout loss, you have to be in awe of the scrambling ability of Carson Wentz. Wentz is a really good quarterback. That throw to, and I know it was in the first quarter and they didn't score much after that, but that throw, that touchdown pass to the tight end, not Ertz, but the Dallas Goedert, that was a thing of beauty, man. That's not an easy throw to make. Carson Wentz is actually really good, man, and we all know this to be a fact. He hasn't gotten a lot of help this year. He really hasn't. But, yeah, anyway. Deron Johnson said, my Ravens beat the Seahawks. Peters is a fire, good pickup. Lamar is fire as well. That was a hell of a win. I didn't see that one coming. They went in there and really smacked the Seahawks in the mouth. That was really impressive. Let's see. Junior says, if only they both could lose, Cowboys and Eagles, we could see the Giants win the division and feel good knowing they lose in a wild card. No, it's not. Junior, it's not happening, buddy. Cowboys are actually a really solid football team. It's been a while, Ree. I don't have it in me tonight. I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me tonight. The 20th Mike says, what was the last time the NFC East was very bad? It wasn't very long ago. It was like 2-3 years ago. Matter of fact, I think 2015 was the last time the NFC East was just tragically bad. The year the Redskins won it at 9-7. Remember that? When Kirk Cousins had the "You Like That" and rallied us back against Tampa Bay and then went on a run and we ended up winning the division in Week 16 at Philadelphia. And we didn't need the Week 17 game versus the Cowboys, but we still proceeded to bash their brains in Week 17 in Big D. That was last year. I think the division was trash. I can't remember what happened in 2017. I remember 2016 was the first year of Zeke and Dak in Dallas in their rookie seasons. They went off, won like 13 games. So it wasn't that year. I think 17 could have been a down year, but I'm not sure about that. I just know that 15 was a down year, and I think that was the last time the NFC East was the NFC least. Let's see. Reese says 18. I meant 18. That sounds about right. 18 plus 7 is 25. That sounds about right. Ricky L says, just showed up. So he says, you didn't clown me for not showing up. Between this stupid job of mine and this stupid team, I'm physically and mentally drained. Hey, look, bro, I'm not going to kill you for tonight's performance. I was disappointed, but at the end of the day, every now and again, everybody takes an ass whooping. Even the Patriots take an ass whooping every now and again. It happens. You're just not as good as we thought you were going to be. I thought you were going to win this division before the season started, but 2 weeks in, I had actually made up my mind and said, nope, this division probably belongs to Dallas this year. And this kind of confirmed it for me. You know, the Eagles, they're missing so much this year. It's not even funny. Like, I wasn't a fan of the Michael Bennett trade. Thought that wasn't a good move. And you're not getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback like you have in the past, especially from the interior defensive line positions. Fletcher Cox has been a disappointment this year. The secondary is horrible. It's a revolving door at the linebacker position. This defense, outside of stopping the run, hasn't been very good this season. And then the offense, they're hit or miss. Either they're hitting a big play and they're scoring on a nice drive, or they're turning it over, or they're not having success. The last 2 games, a ton of turnovers between the Vikings game and this game. Then you're putting yourself in these really bad positions by starting the game so slow. And like I said, I mentioned 4 games where you just came out sluggish, and you're not going to play the Redskins every week where you're able to come back from a 17-0 deficit and end up winning the game comfortably. You fall behind against good teams in this league, you're not going to win most weeks. You were lucky to come back and win that Green Bay game. If Devontae Adams doesn't get hurt, you don't win that Green Bay game. So it could be worse. You could be 2-5 right now. Instead, you're 3-4, and you're probably lucky to be that at this point. Reese says, I'm so happy the Falcons stink. If there was only one silver lining this season thus far, I can laugh at them, especially Dirk Cutter. Blackbird Blitz says, how you in such a good mood when the Skins are 1-6 and trash like my Falcons? The Dirty Bird Nation is up in arms tonight. You and Sister Lou should be seeking help with the rest of us. Do you see this drink in my damn hand? All right. I'm already drinking in advance of Thursday night football versus the Vikings. What are you talking about, man? I'm in a good mood because this is what we do every year. I'm accustomed to this. I'm immune to being a bad football team. You're not going to get me to feel bad about 1-6. We stink every year. Last year, it was a mirage when we were 6-3. Alex Smith snapping his leg essentially made it a much faster decline, but we were ultimately going to end up 8-8 or 9-7 and miss the postseason last year anyway. So I already know what time it is. And you see what's in my hand, man. You know what time it is. But yes, I see all the Falcons videos. I've never seen this many Falcons vid makers before. They're coming out of the woodworks from everywhere, and they are pissed and out for blood. And I must say, I am very intrigued. LaXavier Lester says, did you see Jeffrey mother effing Simmons today? No, I can't wait to watch. I heard he tore it up. I was looking. You heard? Did you? I heard. I had an interview with my man Teron Davenport on my podcast, who is the ESPN Nation reporter for the Tennessee Titans, and I asked him, was he going to play today? He said, nah, I'm looking more towards the bye week. He played today, and I heard he tore it up. I cannot wait to watch Jeffrey Simmons. You gotta steal at 19. He was a top 10 pick, and you got to steal. I can't wait to watch. Reese says, you had to remind me of that game, Lou. Damn Jordan Reed. Hashtag, I don't like that. Look, man, we all wish we could get that Jordan Reed back, man. That was prime Jordan Reed. We'll probably never see that again. Junior says, I live in Cali, and there are so many Cowboys fans. I got to hear it, man. He says, this is some BS. Cowboys fans are the worst here. Cowboys fans are everywhere, bro. You can't run from them. All right, they are everywhere. They're plentiful here. I live in Virginia. Plenty of Cowboys fans here. You can't run from them, man. And when they're good or when they're winning, you're going to hear their mouth. As you should. The 20th Mike says, can you believe the Redskins are still in the race? Come on, man. Stop. You put an LOL at the end of that, so I'm just going to assume you're being facetious, and we're going to just both cheers and laugh to that. And I'll keep it moving. Junior says, I'm a Skins fan. No matter who the Cowboys beat, I got to hear it. Look, that's the way it goes. If we were beating teams, they would have to hear it from us. So it is what it is. Reese says, I've got good friends who follow the Niners. I haven't heard the end of it with their undefeated season thus far. Look, I know some Niners fans. They are on cloud nine right now, and you can't tell them anything about that defense. And you know what? Rightfully so. The defense has been what's really kept them undefeated. The offense, to me, leaves a lot to be desired, especially when they're not able to run the football, as a case was today. And you could even look at last week against the Rams, weren't able to run the football. They only mustered 20 points. But the defense has been dominant, and that's what's really won them games and kept them undefeated to this point. Ricky L says, lucky you didn't open the phone lines. I thought about it. He says, hashtag Ricky Rants. I thought about opening the phone lines, but I didn't. That was going to be my initial move, was to open the phone lines, because I didn't really feel like talking a lot tonight. But then I got on camera and I started talking. Anyway, King Keith says, do you think the Redskins should trade Jordan Reed? Says, no, who's going to trade for him, man? I mean, the guy is contemplating retirement right now. I don't think you're going to get anything for him at this point. Hank Midas says, what's up with the Chargers? Most disappointing team this season. No, they're not the most disappointing team this year. I didn't think the Chargers, well, maybe for you. I thought the Chargers were going to be 8-8. The Falcons are by far and away the most disappointing team this year. I talked about that on my podcast, Louie T Network podcast. If you haven't already checked it out, new episode was uploaded on Friday. Every Friday, new episode. What are you waiting on? Louie T Network podcast. Check it out. Available on Stitcher, Google Music Play, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can get the Louie T Network podcast. I talked about all the teams that were disappointing this year. Both of those teams made the list, the Chargers and the Falcons. But to me, it's the Atlanta Falcons, by far and away the most disappointing team in football this season. Terrence J says, how do you feel about the Ravens' victory today? I'm not going to talk much about it right now, but you can rep your squad tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on this channel. Call in, or you can hit me up via the live chat, or you can hit me up via Twitter. I'll answer your tweets, but normally the phone lines dominate the conversation. But you call in, you rep your squad. You want to know how I feel about the Ravens? And I watched that game. It was on live locally here. You want to know how I feel about the Ravens win? Call in tomorrow. Rep your squad. And we can chop it up about your Ravens. It was impressive. I'll say that. I won't say much more, but I will say that was a damn impressive victory by the Baltimore Ravens over the Seahawks. I did not see that coming. Junior says, so this blowout happened because of Doug Peterson's comments. LOL. If only the Skins used Kyle Shanahan's comments, his drive, their drive. We're not good enough. The Cowboys actually have the horses to go out and say, all right, you know what? You're going to talk that shit? We're going to make you eat this crow right here, man. And they went out and they took it to those boys. And I do believe those comments did give them a little bit of extra lighter fluid or gasoline, if you will. But they were the better team anyway. And they were probably going to win this game, whether Doug Peterson said that or not. Reed says, I heard a rumor the Bucs and the Redskins have discussed an O.J. Howard deal ahead of the deadline. I would take him. But again, it's just what are the Bucs looking for in return? We don't have a second-round pick in this year's upcoming draft. So I think that would be what it would take to get O.J. Howard off the Buccaneers is a second-round pick. We don't have one. So I don't know what you're looking for. You're not getting a first for him. Not from us, at least. I would give a third right now. You know, a third and a player, you could have it. I'd take him in a heartbeat. Yin Yang Domain says, we proved we could run the ball today. It's been two extremes this year. What happened to Richardson? Hey, Paul Richardson is a non-factor right now in the football team. But anyway, that's going to do it for this breakdown, man. Dominant performance by the Dallas Cowboys. Man, was that impressive or what? Amari Cooper, we didn't know if he was going to play. He was nursing an injury. He had a big night, as he always seems to do against the Eagles. Remember the last time these two teams played? The man went off for like two and some change. It was like 220-something and like 3 touchdowns. He was ridiculous in that game last year in Dallas. Had another solid night tonight versus them. Everybody stepped up, though. Randall Cobb had a nice catch early in the game that set up a touchdown. Zeke was on his game. Tavon Austin contributed with the first touchdown in the game. Blake Jarwin had a touchdown. It was coming from everybody, man. And that when the Cowboys have it hitting like that on all cylinders, where they're getting multiple contributing players on the offensive side of the football, they're a tough outfit to stop. And when the defense is getting after the quarterback like they did tonight, they're a tough team to deal with. That front seven was humming tonight, and the Eagles simply had no answers on either side of the football. Cowboys get the win 37-10 as they get to 4-3 on the season, take sole possession of first place in the NFC East. Eagles fall to 3-4, and they got a tough road ahead of them. Bills, Patriots, Bears, Seahawks. It doesn't get much easier for the Eagles. Meanwhile, the Cowboys go into their bye week feeling really good, and no matter what happens next week, the Cowboys are still going to be in sole possession of first place when they come back off of their bye week in week number 9. So Cowboys got to feel good about what they were able to do heading into their bye week. Meanwhile, for the Eagles, they're searching for answers, and it's not going to get any easier defensively next week. You're playing against one of the best, if not the best defense in all of football next week in the Buffalo Bills. So that's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Sunday Night Football Overtime. I thank you guys for joining me. Look forward to chopping it up with you tomorrow on Rep Your Squad. Should be a very fun show. A lot of games that had outcomes that weren't expected. That Seahawks Ravens one was probably one of the biggest shockers for me. Maybe that Bears Saints game was a little bit of an outlier too. 36 without Kamara? Are you serious? And they didn't have Jared Cook. Wow. I mean, that's impressive. I can't wait to watch that game to see what exactly happened there. And in this game here on Sunday Night Football, I expected the Cowboys to win, but not by this type of margin. That was actually surprising as well. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Rep Your Squad tomorrow, 7 p.m. here on the Louie T Network. Also, remember, Louie T Network podcast out and available on every major podcast platform. Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Music Play, Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get a podcast, you can get the Louie T Network podcast. Latest episode up and running. Really good stuff. Hope you guys check that out. I'm your man Louie T, signing off. If it isn't your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, see you guys later. Have a good one, and make sure you like the video. Cheers.